We're going. What do we got, Mark?
It's happening, whether we're ready or not.
We're ready.
I'm so not ready. I can't even hear you through my headphones. I don't have you anywhere.
We're ready to go. Let's go.
Who knows what's going on?
Mark just didn't prepare.
It's 3:02.
Was rushing.
2 minutes late. 2 minutes late. I was rushing. I was trying to do too many things. My wife always says I take on way too many things.
No, you don't take on too many things.
Evan always says that I don't take on enough things or work quickly enough.
You're not taking on too many things. You just need to end the last. What was the last thing just before this?
I was talking to Louis. I have a presentation at 4:00. So as soon as this is done, I got to get into presentation. So I was just quickly opening up those windows so that way they're sitting there and ready.
I thought you were talking to somebody.
I was, Louis.
Oh, okay. And how long were you talking to Louis for?
We had a half an hour call that turned into a 55-minute call. And then we spent like 3 or 4 minutes debriefing. So that's what pushed me.
So if I called Louis and said, Louis, in that 55-minute call, could it have actually been 55 minutes so that Mark could have had 5 minutes to get ready for?
Yes, 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes before the end. I literally cut a mid-sentence. I got to go, man. It's 2:57. Got to go. Listen, there's lots that we can do differently and improve. It's easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize.
I'm in the arena.
I was
waiting in the arena for somebody else to show up.
In the arena, I like that. I like that, eh? I watched, I started watching that Brene Brown special that's on Netflix, which is amazing. Oh. Sorry, the quote "in the arena" is what brought it to mind, right? Teddy Roosevelt.
I thought that's where you were going with it.
So I had never heard that quote up until 2 weeks ago. I have.
Oh, really?
I have Dare to Lead. I have the book. I haven't read it yet or cracked it yet.
I think she made it, Roosevelt, sure, but she's the one who's made it like modern day famous.
Yeah, she made it super famous. But her, I don't, other than Alex, your Alex, coming to me and highlighting parts of Brene Brown's books and texting me and sending them to me, I've never dug into her stuff. But holy smokes, talk about how I should have, because she studies
my
shame.
Alex was photocopying sections.
He sends me so many things about like just belonging and being enough, and you are enough, like all of the stuff that he works through, he shares with me. And I was like, cool. Like that doesn't.
Has that stopped, or is that an ongoing thing?
No. He hasn't done that in maybe a year, let's say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to do it. And so my only real exposure to Brene Brown was through people talking about how awesome she is. Anyway, this Netflix documentary comes up. I start watching it, and I get like 20 minutes in, and I was like, wow, she's amazing. She's an amazing storyteller.
Yeah.
And an amazing speaker. And she comes across she's just so, like, I watch it in awe going, I wish that one day I could be a fraction of how good she is at this.
Yeah.
And
I wish she did more.
I stopped and said, Jacqueline, you need to watch this with me. Like I stopped and went back, and I think we're only 3/4 of the way through it. Not because I don't want to just like move through it super quick, but we keep pausing. Like we're watching it together. We keep stopping because her stories are funny, or she says something, like she just drops these most amazing, like mind-blowing quotes and comments and research. And you got to stop. You got to stop and dig it apart. So the arena though, man, I love that line. I love that line and the way that she built her books and everything around that.
Yeah.
That, right. It's not for those who are outside the arena to criticize, but those who are in the mar and the dust and I don't know, the blah, 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 I don't have to memorize.
And the extension is like, I'm in the arena waiting for someone else to show up in the arena.
Yeah. And I came as quickly as I could.
That is not true. That was not as quickly as you could. Okay. What are we talking about today, Mark?
So the thing that I'm trying to figure out right now, and I had a really cool conversation about it last week on the podcast with someone, but so we're talking about superpowers, right? We're talking about how can we take our weaknesses and make them or the perceived weaknesses, the things that the society would tell us and the school system would say, you're broken because you're disruptive. And then you go out into the real world and being disruptive makes you the most amazing leader. My superpower, like in terms of the therapy and the mental health stuff that we've been dealing with and how we turn that into superpower, or my personal superpower?
Your superpower. What's Mark Yeager's superpower?
So being able to really figure out what it is that people want and what it is that you value and have. And then in the middle, artificially manufacturing who you need to be. So people want this, you have this. What do you need to say? How do you need to feel? What do we need to do to bring those two things together to connect you, to turn you into the person that you need to be? And we do this with brands, and we do this I don't do this well with people yet, but we do this with brands. I'm working on my wife. I'm working on myself. I think that is my superpower. But where I was going with this was more, we've talked about, like, okay, if you have bipolar, how is that a superpower? And if you have dyslexia, Richard Branson and all of these amazing entrepreneurs who have dyslexia, and how is that a superpower? If you have all of these different things, how are these? The society would say that it's a weakness, and yet we see these leaders and we see these people doing amazing things who have these weaknesses, but it's really their superpower. And so, what I asked someone last week on the podcast was, she mentioned she has anxiety, and so I have GAD, or generalized anxiety disorder. That's 100% what's come back as for sure. You have anxiety, Mark. You've had it for a long time. It's disrupted your life for a long time. And I haven't been able to find people who talk about, like, hey, how is anxiety? Like, how is worrying about everything all the time and overthinking everything all the time and having physical stress in your body? How is this good for you, right? Like, you're on edge, you're fight or flight all the time. You're trying to get in front of everything. You never feel like you're on stable ground. And so her response was the ability to pivot really quickly, to respond to whatever's thrown at you really quickly. I'm not sure I believe that. So that's right now the thing that I'm trying to work through is trying to figure out, okay, so if I'm down, I'm working on learning strategies. If I get angry, I'm trying to get better at being able to deal with that. If I'm up and feeling amazing and confident and bold, awesome, let's go. But how is being anxious and being worried and being scared all the time a superpower? And the answer can't be to be like, you're scared, scary, difficult, hard, do it. GAD. That's what it's called. And I know that you don't know too much about it because you haven't been looking into it. I've done a bit of research, but how is being anxious going to be a superpower for me, other than the fact that it makes me really, like, it's trained me to be able to render out things like really, really quickly what someone is saying and try to get in front of it to make sure that I'm understanding what they're saying and I'm hearing what they're saying, and that, like, if you have a problem, what are the 4 possible solutions and which solution is potentially the best and how do you feel about that? But like earlier in the week, you and I were arguing a little bit on Facebook about stuff.
What were we arguing about?
What were we arguing about? About your logo and all of that stuff. Okay. And the process. And I kept sending you like comments and thoughts and ideas, and you were giving me one-liners back, and I was getting frustrated, and I was asking did you even need my help or want my help? Right? Like that's like the anxiety. It's going like, okay, like, if I give you 6 different directions, ideas, or thoughts, and I go, hey, how do you feel about this? And you're like, no, I don't think we can do that. Or like, I don't like this, so therefore these things are out.
It's interesting because it actually then negates your superpower.
What do you mean?
What's your superpower?
What, the ability to understand a target audience of what they feel or what they may want, and then what it is that you value, and then try and mesh the 2 things together to help turn you into the person you need to be to get what you want to connect with those people.
I mean, very wordy, but yes.
How does our conversation negate it?
No, your anxiety, like, because
my anxiety crushes it.
Yeah.
It destroys it. It's like, I have this landing page that I need to write for ourselves that I put off for 4 days now because I just can't bring myself to put it on paper and look at it and realize how bad it is. I have it in my notebooks. I have it written like crazy with lots of words, but the thought of putting it in finite terms on paper is almost too much for me. So I just haven't yet. I need to get really bold or have a deadline or something like that to be able to focus on it. But no, the anxiety keeps me from being able to say, like, Evan, you should do this, man. Trust me, you should do this. Because I don't know if I would ever double down that hard on something because I just don't know if it's the right thing or not. So
Does it lead to stomach aches or headaches?
Yes. No, not headaches. Yeah. Stomach. So what I've learned, which is really interesting, is I didn't realize anxiety is made up of two things: worry, which is cognitive, mental. It's you thinking about the future. It's ruminating over what's happened and what could happen and all this stuff. And then stress, which is physical. And so, yeah, I mean, now that I don't drive home, it's actually a lot better. But when I was commuting up until March, I would say maybe 1/3 of the time I wouldn't even eat dinner with my kids, because driving home from work at the end of the day, I'm just sitting there driving home, ruminating, thinking about all the things that didn't go well or could have gone bad or this or that or what about tomorrow and all this stuff. And I would get home and I would be so keyed up or amped up that, like, not only am I not hungry, not only do I have stomach pains, but I can't sit down at the table. And that's pretty frequent. Like 2 nights ago, I was getting pretty amped up and pretty worked up at the dinner table just because of the bickering and the dog, and, kept bumping into my leg and brushing my leg. And my wife's like, "He just loves you." And I'm just like, "Leave me alone. Stop touching me." Like, yeah. So
I think this is actually fantastic.
Now that we have figured it out, or what?
No, because now all you need is, so here's what it is. I haven't gone all the way to the end, but this is the best advice.
It's the best.
Somebody who's got that should be the voice of reason. Like, you need a warrior inside of every business, inside of every relationship. You need the warrior. The ideal role for that is not you, but somebody who's got this. No. The ideal role for that profile is to be the CFO at a company, to be the person who pumps the brakes on the crazy entrepreneur who's full of dreams and wants to go do things and then jumps off some ledge and dies. Not like because they killed themselves, because they didn't take the precautions.
Evan, yesterday we were on a call with your team, and we were talking about, should we test one thing and then wait to see if it works before we start the next thing, or should we test two things at the same time? And I was like, I couldn't help but say, like, well, why not just do the one thing? Because I was worried about both not working and misuse of spend and all of these things.
We're on to something huge here.
I know. I can feel it. I can feel that you're about to break through.
Let's not ruin the flow with this. Fine. I know. Yes. So somebody who's got that should be, that's the role. You're the one who is the voice of reason, who pairs, not you. I don't want to say you because it's not your role, but somebody who's got it. That's a prototypical role. The CFO, the accountant, the bookkeeper, the even advisor on a team who is not the founder, who is finding all the things, like the lawyer, the reason why it's all not going to work out, the person at the casino who's trying to rip off the casino and like finding all the things that could go wrong, as opposed to the dreamer, the builder, right? Who doesn't want to hear it. It's like, don't tell me that, Jesus, like, what's wrong with you? But that person ends up burning themselves in the sun without that skill set. The flip side, another way of saying what your superpower is what you've said in previous episodes, especially number 54, if we go back.
Don't look back at 54 because we don't even number our episodes that way. So
is you are great at getting people to believe a brighter future in themselves and where they could go and what they could become. Mm-hmm. Which is the typical entrepreneur, visionary, build something better that nobody's done before. What's unique and rare is you can play both sides. You just need to control the lever somehow. Most people don't have this. Most people can't be on both sides.
I literally felt my chest contract as you were talking.
You're welcome. You just don't know how to control it. Both sides are important. The visionary side is more important, but visionary burns in the sun and doesn't get anything done. You need to have someone on the team who's a voice of reason. You can do both. That's exceptionally rare.
You just reminded me actually of part of the reason why I think that I'm so good at brand positioning and so good at understanding, okay, here's an audience and here's what they want and here's what you value and what you say and how do we bring them together, is I spent 5 or 6 years actually at Fanta talking about how most marketers and most entrepreneurs are overly optimistic from my point of view. Like, if we build it, they're going to come. And it's like, no, that's not enough. If we just say it, people are going to love it. No, that's not enough. Like, and so the bar or the threshold to finding the thing that's actually going to work is so high. So that often crushes me trying to achieve it or find it. But finding the thing that will actually motivate someone or persuade someone or actually help connect with them is so high and so hard that if something passes my kind of BS meter, usually because my cynicism and skepticism is so high, if it passes my BS meter, then it should work.
You just have to come back.
I haven't dug into that too deeply in the last few years because
we just did. So you want to live in the land of the optimistic and positive and what could be.
Yes.
And then your other side takes over
and goes, not possible, never going to happen.
No, but this is an important process. You just have to come out on the third, like the third side is the final side, which is happiness. Having listened to both sides, having gone the crazy optimistic, what could be, and then having fought the what is in restraints, and then coming to the happy place at the end of it, which is mostly listening to the first guy, but taking the counsel of the second guy. And you can do that all with yourself without having to go to a board of advisors or hire somebody else. It's fantastic. You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so that's our episode.
You have to control it. Did you read Principles, right?
Yes, I did. I mean, I got halfway through the Principles part and I felt a bit like I was reading Deuteronomy from the Bible. But yes.
I know the beginning. There's something in the beginning.
Oh yeah. No, the beginning is amazing. Oh my goodness. The fact that the fact that you don't think so?
I'm kind of wanting to skip through the beginning. I'm reading through it. I don't like the biographical part. I want to get to the stuff. But
okay. So what I found inspiring, inspiring was his ego, his fall, and his very slow rebuild. Told me that, oh, you can screw up a few times and still come out way ahead down the line. Okay. That I found inspiring.
Let's keep it on track. So when he's about to leave Bridgewater, okay, I don't remember this part or not. Yep. I can go get the book if we need to.
No, I remember.
Relevant. He's about to leave Bridgewater, and they're doing an assessment. He's trying to step away, and he wants to be a mentor, but not be. And I just read this like 2 nights ago. That's why it's kind of fresh.
Yeah, so they brought in co-CEOs, I think, right?
So he brought on 2 people to go underneath him, and they wanted to do an assessment of what he called it the Ray Gap, I believe. The Ray Gap. What's the Ray Gap? And they called it the Ray Gap because Ray was leaving, and somebody's got to fill the gap. And they came up with a word that I don't remember what the word was. Mark's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Huh? Mark went to get the book very quickly. He's coming back. He's got it on his shelf. He's running. He's hustling. He's bringing it back. I probably should have
describe it for our audio listeners. What's happening here?
We were just talking about you.
Oh, perfect. I hope you said good things.
Always, behind your back, we say good things.
Your face, you just kick the out of me, man. I love it. I love it so much too.
Listen, that's how it should be. Okay, you say nice things behind their back and you tell them the truth to their face. It's probably better for me to find it because I just finished reading it, but I'm going to go get my copy too. This is amazing podcast content for everybody listening. Mark and I are basically just looking
in a book
at our book.
Look in a book.
Okay, the Ray Gap is on 93. Shapers is what he calls it. Shapers. Okay, so shapers is the word that he uses, and he talks about Steve Jobs being the most iconic shaper of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, to visualize what I mean by shaping and shapers, think of Steve Jobs. Sorry, did I steal your thunder?
Yes. Just pay attention. A shaper is someone who comes up with unique and valuable visions and builds them out beautifully, typically over the doubts and oppositions of others. So what one example I loved here was, I think it was here, we was talking about Elon Musk being like super excited about the vision for Tesla and where he's going to go and the big mission behind it, and equally excited about the like remote control, tiny little piece of the car. And to be able to keep both in mind and at the same time, where most people can either just do the one little thing and just the little picture or the big picture, but to be able to have both in mind at the same time is a super unique trait, which is what Ray discovered that he had, and then set out to discover what set up Shapers, and he wished he talked to Gandhi and all this stuff. So Shapers, like, I got Jobs on the Wall. We both got the Ray Dalio book. It's not the perfect example, but I think what you've got is that exceptionally rare combination where your makeup is both wanting to build something amazing and beautiful, and not only for yourself, but seeing it in other people, helping them believe and dream bigger than they thought was possible, and selling them on a vision that they can actually get behind and say, you know what, if Mark believes that, maybe that could actually happen. And equally seeing all the pitfalls and holes in your own plan of why it's not going to work out. That's fantastic. You just stop there. You just need to take the third step, which is internally debate and then come out with a solution, which is going to be like 80% the first guy and 20% the second guy. And then you get the perfect plan. Superpower.
That's not driven by anxiety, do you think, is it? Like, I haven't decided yet whether I want to explore medication or not, or any of these things.
It's not that it's driven by anxiety. The second guy is driven by anxiety.
Yes.
The second guy can you're worried about things that are overly, you're overly pessimistic, worried too much about something that doesn't match the level of worry that it should be.
Yes.
Right? Like, oh my God, what if this crazy thing happens? Yeah, but the chances of that happen are so low, Mark. Right? But you need that on any team, you need that person. Every team needs that. Like, this is why negative people can be good for a team, is because they point out even if they do it in a really crappy way, and you maybe hate their guts and they're pouring rain on your fire, right? It's like, I want to destroy this person, but in the delivery usually sucks, but there might be, out of the 8 things they say, one thing that's actually super valid that everybody missed, because they're approaching it from a completely negative mindset. It's like, if this thing sucked and was going to fail, how many ways could it fail? Which is not where entrepreneurs want to be living. Oh,
that's so funny. I ask that question all the time. I always say, like, if this is going to go wrong, what could make it go wrong? And then how do we engineer around that?
But you're getting stuck at the second part. You're not moving. Yeah. You're not emotionally moving to the third part of how do we get around it. That's where you need to live.
Yeah.
You get excited. Yeah. And then you get depressed.
Yep.
And you don't come out on the other side.
Right. Then I get excited about something else, and then I get depressed.
Most people have to turn to somebody else. Most of the entrepreneurs can't get through that. They just want to bypass all that stuff. I think of my mom as a great example of, like, she's a lawyer by training, right? So every time I wanted to do something, she's like, oh, what about the legal implications of this? Like, oh, who cares? Just like,
I used to do that to you all the time too. I'd be like, dude, you don't have the copyrights to any of this stuff. What are you doing?
Just go, right? But, my mom forced a couple of things that were probably no like giant thing that saved my company, but were probably in the best interest of my business, right? Which is why every company needs to have the controller, the CFO, the legal counsel, the people around them who aren't driving it, right? Like Branson, this is actually a great example. Branson never lets accountants into the deals. He makes the deals, and then lets the accountants figure out how to make it happen. Because if you went to the accountants, they'd find all the reasons why it wasn't going to work.
It would never happen, right?
So he goes like, this is what you need to do. You be the Branson, and then you bring in the accountants. Your strength is you are the accountants as well. You can do it all. You're the unique shaper who can make it all happen. You just have to get to the first step.
But I often don't think I don't live enough in the Branson side of things. I live too much in the accountant and the lawyer side of things, because I'll talk myself out of things in real time even, or I'll keep think big, be bold, say yes.
No. That's not it at all. No. You don't get to the third step,
which is take action.
The 80% and 20%, right? Like, you live in the first one frequently, but then you live in the second one and you just let the second one win. It's like they're talking, and whoever spoke last is the winner.
Yes.
That's not how it works.
That is a perfect analogy, actually. Yeah, whatever the last thing to happen to me is the lasting feeling until something next happens to me that can flip it. And then whatever that is the lasting feeling.
You just need to pull the lever. If those two people were in a room, if Branson was in a room with the accountants, they would go at it and end up having a better plan than either of them could have put together individually. And it would likely be 80% Branson and 20% the accountants.
Right.
It's not going to be 50-50. Branson's not going to go that far back.
No.
Right? But or 95-5 or whatever. But like, you need to have the voice of reason. Otherwise, Branson hot air balloons into the sky and dies, right? Like, it just goes into the sun and floats. Goodbye. So you need to have that person who injects a little bit of doubt and where it could go wrong. But most, like, the Branson can't even see that. Doesn't want to talk about it. Doesn't want to acknowledge it's even a possibility. Feels like it's an entire waste of time conversation. But then, oh yeah, actually that point, we should do that.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting, because one thing I've also become aware of myself is so to your point. Okay, so I will admit that I'm really, really good at that stuff, and that's awesome. And when I can get excited about something and it lives up to the like I've used the term with you, emotionally comfortable. Like, I need to get emotionally comfortable with this change. But that's me actually getting excited about it and working through all of the things and then passing both tests. And then I can go, okay, we're going to do this. We've talked about how you and I spend money differently. In a lot of ways, you spend money on things that I'm not comfortable with. And in a lot of areas, I just, like, I'll hire people like crazy and I'll spend money on things where you're like, what are you doing, Mark? Like but I'm comfortable. I'm excited about the opportunity with the staff member, for example, and I'm comfortable. Yep. If it all works out, perfect. We'll pass this test and away we go. But what I've learned quite recently as well is I can fire through this, 4, 10, 15 times a day on really important things that are core to the business and core to my clients and core to growth. And then I never actually, I don't have anyone to give it to, or I never give it to anyone, or I don't action it out. And so they just go onto these lists of things, which is why the We Do Hard Things podcast took 9 months to roll out. Not because I didn't have the idea, and not because if I had the team around me, I wouldn't be able to action it out and make it happen. I just put it on my shoulders and it's on me.
You still didn't get to the third step. It was still just stuck in anxiety mode.
Right. But as soon as I was able to get Bo on, your Bo, and he was able to start lining up the guests, everything else quickly-ish. It took us, I guess, what would it be, pre-record for 5 weeks, and it took us 2 weeks to get the first episode out. But what I've kind of realized over the last month or two, let's say, is if we could rapidly build more of a team where I'm able to hand things out to people, and if I'm spending all my time getting excited and having things pass the test of will it work or not, by the time I usually get to there, and if I can hand it to someone, there's something really, really good in there.
Well, Mark 1 is ready and willing to hand it to people really quickly. Mark 1 is like, this is the greatest idea ever. Let's go do it. Get the team, go build, grow. I'm good at this. We need this, go.
Yeah.
Mark 1's ready. Mark 2 then's like, whoa, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to budget this. What is the schedule gonna? All of these like roadblocks. He just slams on the brakes, which is a useful conversation. You just never get to the third mark.
So how do I figure out how to, okay, so awareness is key. Great. I'm going to now just, mark number 2, I can name them, right?
Well, so I don't know. This is why I said, how did I start this whole thing was you just don't know how to use the lever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to know how to use the lever. But that's the superpower, is that you'll find the holes in your own plan, which most people won't be able to do properly.
And I get stuck on the holes and I ignore all the benefits.
Yeah, you stay stuck or it's
and
like
why,
20%.
Why it won't work.
20% Mark 1 and 80% Mark 2, where that needs to be flipped.
It's so interesting because I know this is really hurting me. This hurts me. I was even thinking last week about just like personal investments.
Everything.
I'm a I'm a pretty smart guy. I can figure out systems. I believe I can figure out systems pretty quickly. I can connect dots and track stuff. I feel like I should be the type of person who can learn and get better at investing. And yet I'm too afraid. Like, I don't even have money in the market right now. Like last November, I turned everything into cash, and I've just sat all of 2020 out. There were too many things happening, and even in November, and who knows what's going to happen. So I actually missed like the crash, and I've missed how high it is. And I'm just going to sit things out until things seem a little bit more sane, and I'll come back in. But, in terms of the people on my team, or like my team Mark, people around me, the people I choose to have as friends, the people I choose to have in my life, the people I choose to listen to, the actions we take, how big my life could be, how much money we have, all of this is being controlled by this scared Mark still. It's Mark number 2.
Yes. You're 80% scared Mark and 20% Mark 1. And that needs to be flipped.
I like the bolder Mark better though.
Huh?
Okay. So I don't even know how to go about figuring this out. Other than noticing, like, I don't know how to unpack that. Maybe that's the thing for my new therapist that I'm getting. So,
are you getting a new therapist?
I am. I've decided. Yes.
Good.
So
I hope they're good.
I hope so too. I don't know how I'm going to find a therapist. I don't want to just repeat what happened last time. So.
Right. You just said you were good at figuring things out, so you can figure that out.
No, I know. I just haven't put the time into figuring it out.
I want to figure out how GAD can be a superpower for me. And if they don't have an answer, they're not your person.
Right.
That's it. Anyway, that's the problem. I don't know that I have a slide. Nothing comes to mind immediately of like, how do you fix it? But that is the problem. Which already is a gift. The awareness is a gift.
I know this is going to sound silly, but I think what I might try starting with is I'm already very aware of how I'm feeling these days, because now that I track everything and all this stuff. But I think I'll start by naming the personas, and then I can at least put a name to the feeling or the mindset.
Can you shift into it when you want? Like if you're,
I can feel myself. I can feel myself slipping.
No, but can you go from 2 to 1?
I go from 2 to 1.
How hard is that to do?
Sorry. So can I go from being depressed and down to being happy, or can I go from thinking big and bold to being critical, like
no,
critical
that's
thinking?
1 to 2. You know how to do that. You do that. You live there. Like you do that all the time.
Great.
1 happens, inspiration. It just happens.
Yeah.
And then you will go to 2.
Yes.
That's the pattern.
Yes.
And we know that's going to happen on repeat. Great.
No, I don't know how to do that yet. That's a really good point. No. So like, for example, Monday was really down and struggling. And so I was thinking, okay, what does Evan say? Okay, so in this type of moment, be nice, be forgiving, all that stuff. Don't just try and grit your teeth and get through it, or get even more depressed. Just like make the most of it. So I was like, okay, I have this time. What am I going to do? So I read. I started working through Trevor Moawad's book, It Takes What It Takes, which is a great book. I was just like, okay, I'm going to use this time for something at least. But really, it was yesterday. So that was Monday. Tuesday was a busy day, but still not great. Yesterday morning wasn't great. You and I jumped on a call and you told me I looked like a homeless person.
Oh yeah, that was, well, I mean, the guy after me said he looked like a bank robber, which I think is an upgrade over a homeless person. But in fairness, you were standing at least that time. When you joined me, you were lying on your couch or something. Yeah,
I was sitting in front of the fire, and I spent like an hour and a half, like barely looking online. Like I spent half an hour just staring at the ceiling, just like so out of it. And so really being able to, so I said, okay, so I'm going to work on Evan's stuff.
Okay,
and
what's an idea you're struggling with, like that you see the big picture with, but you're living in phase 2?
What is something that we're struggling with right now?
No, you. I mean, it'd be the business. You, Mark. It's like
Mark
me? 1 is fighting Mark. Mark 1 came up with a great idea, and Mark 2 thinks it's a piece of garbage.
Okay, so so here's a good example. So my daughter is 6 years old. She's in competitive dance, and she shows a tremendous amount of promise. Like, she's already been moved up. She's dancing with kids 2 years older than her, which is just even great because now she's
okay. Write
she's
it down.
Write it down.
Yep.
Okay.
This is Mark 1 talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten to the point where it goes from being awesome to being.
Well,
like,
that's Mark 2. But here's
okay.
the thing: is like another superpower of yours is explaining context. You like to over context everything.
I don't over context. I give the right amount of context so people understand what I'm talking about.
Very rarely the right amount of context, but it's very helpful because what you're doing right now is tapping back into Mark 1. Even though you're living in Mark 2 with your daughter, to explain the context, you have to kind of tap back into Mark 1. So you're already doing it.
No, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful and positive.
No, but that's it. So that you just did it. You're living in Mark 2, but you're tapping into Mark 1. So write it down. 3 things. Write down 3 things.
Write down 3 things.
Yep. Mark 1.
Yeah.
For your daughter are 3 things. So 1, she's competing against people who are 2 years older than her.
Yeah.
And then what's 2 more?
For her, you mean?
Mark 1. Be Mark 1.
Okay, but I wasn't finished my story for her yet.
I don't care. That's part of it.
Okay. Well, let me just explain.
Context. You need the context.
No, I don't need the context. I'm trying to explain.
You badly need the context. This is great. Like, pretend like you're explaining it to somebody.
Okay.
Not me, because I'm going to rush you through it, but to somebody. And then as you're explaining it, you're going to come up with your 3 points. That hopeful Mark, number 1, this is why he's so excited. He's so excited because she's already competing against people who are 2 years older than her, and she's holding her own or she's winning. Right?
Yeah. So that's 1. Number 2, she has it's a bit of the outlier effect, right? Like is Malcolm Gladwell Outliers, right? The kids who are born early in the year are slightly bigger. They show promise, so they get more attention. 100% happening to her, but
okay, put it down.
Okay.
No, but we're not in butt mode yet. Butt mode is Mark 2. We still need 1 more from Mark 1. So she's beating kids 2 years older than her. She's got the outlier effect going in her favor. And
yep.
What? That's it. I mean, what?
She likes it. She's good at it. She's
since she was 12. Mark 1's building a better future. What would he say about this?
Since she was 12 months old, sitting in a high chair, she performed and is comfortable performing.
There you go. That's it. That's point 3.
Great.
Can you write it down?
Okay. I mean, I know these things because
it doesn't matter. But this is an exercise in real time.
12
doing it.
months old, born to perform.
Okay, so what are the 3 points for Mark 1?
There we go. She's in competitive dance and she's been moved up twice, which means she shows promise. She's born early in the year, and
wait, I thought point number 1 was she's competing with kids 2 years older than her.
Yeah, she's been moved up. She's been moved up from she was in level 1 a year ago, and now she's in level 3. She's been pulled up, so she's with kids who are 2 years older.
So the 3 points again.
So she's in a dance troupe and been moved up 2 levels up from people her own age, and she's dancing with kids who are 2 years older than her. So that shows promise. She's born early in the year and likes it, which is great. And then ever since she was the littlest of babies, she's always performed. She always dances. I have her 3 years old on a dock for 45 minutes just dancing to random music. So it's just
Hold on. The second point, you missed the logical part of it. There was a logical argument of outliers where she was born.
Yeah, she's born early in the year. Yeah, she's born early in the year.
Which gives her advantages of
over people her own age.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark 1. Hey, Mark 1. Good job, Mark 1. Okay. Mark 2. But write that down.
But I haven't even given you the thing that I'm going to say but about.
Now it's butt time. Now it's Mark 2 butt. Okay.
No,
so
no. But these things, let me just explain why I was going with my daughter with competitive dance. I think she shows so much promise that I have told Jacqueline that we should be considering it. She's 6 years old. She's turning 7. Now is the time for her to get private lessons, for us to potentially pull her out of school in the future and get private tutoring and dedicate herself to dance.
Yeah, that doesn't matter yet. The reason that led to the actions. Okay, so that's what you got. Now, right, you got your 3 things. Underneath, you write in all caps, but.
Okay, but.
Yeah, but.
But. Yep, doing this, but.
Yeah.
UT,
all
follow
caps.
along at home, everyone.
All caps.
But
no,
okay.
don't follow along. You're not a unique snowflake. Mark Drager is. This will not work for you. Customized strategy for Mark. It is. But perfect. Underline it too, like triple underline it.
And a star. But
I like that. Okay, but now give me your 3. Mark Drager 2. Cynic. Negative. Anxiety driven. Fear land. But what? Why is it not a good idea?
Why is it not a good idea for us to put her in competitive dance and all of that stuff?
Yep.
Like the next level, basically.
Uh-huh.
The but is, even though my hopes and dreams tell me that this is totally achievable and makes sense to me, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with the 30 or 40 grand a year that it'll probably take to do that.
Okay, put it down. 1, too expensive.
Yep.
Too expensive.
2, we may turn it into a thing that I don't want her to lose her passion or love for something.
Okay, she might hate it. Okay, 2 and 3.
Quite honestly, like the biggest thing is like.
Honestly, what are we doing here?
I know, but I'm gonna give you a real honest line now. I have this like, who am I to think that I can. Okay. I'm going to pull my youngest daughter out of school and put her in this
write
thing.
That down. Great. That's number 3.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So this is the mental exercise that Mark does 20 times a day by himself.
Yes.
And then stays stuck in quicksand and can't make a decision.
Yes, because I believe that it's totally possible and achievable, and at the same time.
Okay, so now
deep down realize it's probably never going to happen.
Okay, so now under those 3.
Yep.
You got to write so.
Yeah. Okay. So.
All caps.
With a star, all caps. I need to. Or is that where you're going with this? So I need to.
Just so is fine. Okay. Now, there you go. So I'd like there's some space in there a little bit. Okay, so. Mark 1 and Mark 2 need to debate those 3 things on the list. They're all right. Mm-hmm. It's not a black and white thing. It's a gray mix in between them, right?
But the world is black and white, isn't it?
Or if we drill down
on the macro, right?
There's points. Mark 2 has good points.
The macro, it's gray. On the micro, it's black and white. Is that your breakthrough? Yes.
That's what you need to do. So what's the macro or what's the micro black and white to help you make a decision on this? Can you accomplish the 3 things in step 1 and mitigate the 3 things in step number 2?
Yes.
That's a confident answer. So how do you do it?
So a few months ago, I asked my wife to reach out to the studio owner to find out if any other kids have committed to this level that she's aware of, and if we could talk to them or their parents. I don't think she's done that yet. COVID, everything's crazy. The business owner's overwhelmed. That is all I've done.
No, Bob, you didn't even do anything. You gave homework to your wife to do, and she didn't do it.
I told you that I am the very best at coming up with these things and handing them off to people, and then never.
No, but that whole
doing anything again.
No, you don't have a plan. That's not a plan. That's a hedge. Like you're looking for somebody. Who cares if nobody's done it? Now what? Now it doesn't exist. Like you're still stuck in the same problem. No, but if you come up, okay, you find the girl who's done it. And Mark 1 says, see, look, you can do it. And Mark 2 is going to say, no, but we're nothing like that girl.
No, I don't even know how much, I don't know what the time commitment is. I don't know what the expenses are. I don't know what the cost to the family is. I don't know if
that's not the problem.
If my oldest daughter will look at what we're doing to my youngest daughter and feel like we're leaving her out. Like, I don't know. I haven't figured out any of those things.
No, hold on. Those are different things. How much it costs, blah, 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 blah. You can figure that out. Oldest daughter looking to youngest daughter and being jealous and then thinking Mark's a terrible father. That's 0.4 on but.
Well, I got a lot more of those butts.
Well, you take the biggest ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's coming up. That's not a logical thing you can figure out. The cost, you can figure it out. So now Mark 1 needs to not debate Mark 2, but listen compassionately and then get to so how do you address number 1? Can you figure out a way to either make more money to support this or find a lighter version of it to test it. The same advice you gave me yesterday or the day before to test it so you're not dropping 40K on this next year, right? Is there a way to test it? Yes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What was number 2?
Number 2 for the butts, expensive. Yeah. The other one is we may turn something that she's passionate about into
okay. So can you create a routine, a schedule, a system, check-ins where you're making sure that she's enjoying it? What, are you just going to decide this is her life for the next 10 years? Or you're going to check in every now and then and say, hey, honey, do you actually still enjoy this? Right? Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, we check in. No, but I'm a little concerned it's going to be like, we pay this much money and changed everything. You're going to...
No, that's Mark coming back. Go. Okay, so what does Mark 1 say to Mark 2 when he's like that?
Yeah, we listen to our kids. We talk to them. We have good relationships with them. It's okay. We can deal with it when we get there.
You can deal with it. You'll pay attention along the way. You have to. You'll make an extra note to see how she's doing. Everything that she's done, you see the big smile in her face and how she's loving it.
And even if we did it for only 3 years and it didn't go anywhere, no one's going to take that experience away from her. She's going to learn. She's going to grow. She's going to be given a gift no one else that I never had, that my kids didn't have.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Mark 3 just showed up. Can we give him some love? Mark 3 is in the house.
That's still Mark 1.
No, that's not Mark 1. That's Mark 3. That's Mark 3, because Mark 1 thinks she's going to be the greatest dancer of all time. Mark 3 has saying, you know what? Even if she doesn't last past 3 years, it's still worth going for. Mark 1 listened to Mark 2 when we got to Mark 3. Yeah.
Guys, I can't help but smile and laugh because Evan looks so proud right now.
I'm not proud. I'm pumped for you.
You look proud. You look like...
Sure, but I'm proud for you. This is what you need to do. That's not Mark 1 anymore. Mark 1 is the guy who's glowing over his 6-year-old daughter who's going to be the greatest thing of all time and is afraid to say that out loud because every parent thinks their kid's the greatest, but mine is actually the greatest dancer of all time.
Mine's actually really, really good.
But that's the thing. So that's Mark 1. That's Mark 1. Mark 3 just showed up to say, you know what? Okay, listen to Mark 2. I don't want her to hate it. So let's give it a shot for 3 years or 6 months or 12 months and check in with her and see how she's doing. But it's still worth going for. That's Mark 3. That's the so. And what was the last one?
Who am I to think
who am
that?
I?
Yep.
Okay.
Who am I to think that,
Okay.
So Mark 1 wants extraordinary. And let me tell you, there's nothing more extraordinary than being like, well, we could do this. We could totally do this. Of course we could do this.
Okay. But now let's get to Mark 3.
And then, who am I if I'm spending this much money on, like, we could do this right now if we wanted to, but what is it costing us? Am I taking it from something else in a year or two? Will we be on the verge of bankruptcy because of something? And I go, damn it, why did I spend that money on this thing? Like,
okay, we'll get to Mark 3. That's Mark 2. Great. How does Mark 3? Where do we end up? So now we're back to the first point, which is too much. Okay. So what are we doing? Are we spending less? Are we putting aside this money that we know, is in our account? Like, we're going to commit for 6 months and see how it goes. What's Mark 3? What do we get to?
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll make a plan. We're doing it right now. This is it. This is what you have to do every day.
I would normally just cycle between these two things. This feeling of course it's achievable.
That's what we're breaking.
Right. No, I know. But I'm saying I don't have the clear next step because I don't know.
But that's what we're doing right now. Mark 3 is the plan. Mark 1 is the dream. And Mark 2 is the whatever, the naysayer. I don't know what they call it. And Mark 3 is the plan. So we have a plan for the second one. The second one is we're going to put her in for, she doesn't have to be the greatest of all time. We'll try for 6 months and see how she likes it. So that she doesn't end up hating this thing that now is a job instead of a passion. Great. That's our plan. That's embracing both Marks. That's the best. Mark 1 is like, yeah, okay, I'm down for that. Yeah. Mark 1 looks at that plan and says, yeah, I mean, but of course she's going to love it. I mean, 6 months is easy, whatever. We're going to go and this is going to be her lifetime. She'll be greatest. And Mark 2 is like, okay, she may not, I mean, that's fine. I don't know if I don't know if that's good enough, but both of them agree that this is now the way forward. And so now you have a plan, you're Mark 3, you're moving forward. So what do you do on the money? Mark 2 says, this is way too much. We have no money. Corona is going to destroy everything. And I'm going to regret this decision in 3 years that I should have spent it buying my car instead of putting it into my daughter's dance class. So what's the plan?
Just as you said, I mean, like what's the bridge, right? Like what can we start with? What can we do that's,
okay,
she's not gonna go into 5 days a week from, full time and drop out of school right now anyway. So this is more like us getting her prepped for like next September if we wanted to do this or whatever it might be.
Okay, what's the plan that Mark 1 and Mark 2 can agree on?
I really liked my idea of reaching out to the studio owner and finding out how to build a custom plan, a dance plan or whatever it is for my daughter. And if she's not able to achieve this, then we move on down the list.
As long as it's not, like it's believing that there is a path.
There is a path. I know there is because
there's a path.
No, the reason why I know there's a path is because the hometown I grew up in.
Yeah, but Mark 1 believes in the path. Mark 2 doesn't believe in the path. You need Mark 2 to believe in the path.
No, Mark 2 believes in the path.
Okay, great. Then 1 isn't a problem anymore.
I believe in the path. I'm just uncertain of the guaranteed outcome, of the outcome.
There is no, of course.
I know. If it was like,
but the plan isn't for a guaranteed outcome. The plan is to put a plan into motion to give us the best shot at an outcome.
You know what I was saying to Jack?
What about the third one? What was the third one? What's the third negative? Oh, who am I?
Who am I?
So who are you?
I'm Mark Traeger. I do extraordinary things.
Yeah, but Mark 2 says BS. You live way below your potential. You're afraid of everything.
I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer these questions.
What do you mean? We just did it for 1 and 2. So how do you buy into? You have to come to a Mark 1 is not going to strong arm Mark 2 and make it's not 100-0, right? So you got to find it. You got to find.
I typically.
No, but
the way that I've been able to move forward with things in the past is 1, I just do it on impulse because I know that I will never come to a decision. Hey, that's how we got a Rottweiler puppy, right? I was super uncomfortable with it, did not want to do it. I just said, fine, go ahead. I did it on impulse and I lived with the consequences. That's how I hire people. Like a lot of times my decisions are like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
What you've done. It's flawed and this is a better way. So fix it. So Mark 1 and Mark 2, it's not one killing the other person. They need to come to an understanding. That's Mark 3. So who am I? Mark 1 thinks he's the next God. And Mark 2 feels like you don't do anything extraordinary and you can't believe people even listen to you.
Yeah.
So who are you? Who are you to pull your daughter out of school? It can't just be Mark 1 trying to overpower Mark 2. You have to find a medium somewhere in between where Mark 2 can live with it too. Otherwise, Mark 2 is going to come back and sabotage everything.
Okay. I want to think about this.
This is the answer. We just did it. We just worked through it.
Okay. Then I need to practice it more so I can.
Oh, of course.
Muscle memory.
Listen, you get to practice. You need an entire notebook full of just
like
1, 2, 3,
one, and then it's just like
1, 2, 3,
2, but so yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
build a form.
Yeah,
big notepad full of just empty sheets.
Yeah, it's such a gift. It's like imagine you had to call up. You got a genius idea, and then you had to go call up somebody and go meet them next week to talk about your idea. You get to figure it all out instantaneously, and end up with a much better plan than Mark 1 or 2 would have been able to come up with. So this is it. There we go. We just did your therapy. That's it.
Thank you, sir. I don't even need a therapist now.
Huh?
I don't even need a therapist now.
Right? We're doing it.
Right. Okay, man. I'll see you at 6.
Yeah. I'm going to be pissed if that's not done at 6.
It is now 2 hours later. because after we got off the podcast, Evan said, hey, we have mastermind tonight. We are going to talk about this. You better finish this up. And then I gave him a Mark Drager guarantee. Last time I gave you a Mark Drager guarantee, which was probably about 12 years ago now, I forgot about it. And then I showed up the next month and you were like, hey, what happened? I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then you bothered me for 7 years.
You're welcome.
Raising my standards. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I actually used a bit of the time to further define what characteristics of Mark number 1 is and number 2 and number 3. And then I rewrote out,
number 3 is the planner.
Realistic, confident, sure. Yeah. Planned and thought out, takes action, growth mindset, basically. Because that's what it is, like, oh, if this doesn't work out, at least we're going to learn a lot. At least it's going to be good. Yeah. We'll be able to get better. Mark number 2 is critical and cynical and worried and catastrophizes. Looks for all the ways it won't work, scared.
What's the one word for each? Because that's all too much to remember.
For me, it's like Mark 1 is excited. Mark 2 is fixed mindset. Mark 3 is growth mindset. So Mark 1 is super excited, and excitement will take you far. But then reality kicks in, and Mark 2 becomes fixed mindset. And then if I can get myself to a place where I can be in a growth mindset, well, if this doesn't work out.
Could you say Mark 1 is extraordinary?
Perhaps that's the actual me living the purest version of myself. Is that what you want to say?
Yeah. I mean, even believe it's an aspirational, unattainable thing.
Yes.
Like I'm never done believing, you're never done extraordinary. It's the fully best version.
Well, I actually wrote that. So like the version of number 1 for Mark, I'm going backwards here, but the number 1 is like, I'm a big thinker. I'm optimistic. I'm bold. I said believes in himself and others. I even used the word believe right there.
Wow. I was thinking visionary is like a one word, but I like extraordinary too.
Okay. So Mark 1 is extraordinary. Mark 2 falls into a fixed mindset. And this is language that actually works for me because I'm
No, I like it.
And then Mark 3 gets to a growth mindset where we go, hold on.
Yeah.
There's room to improve. There's room to get better. Life is long. It's okay. We can make some mistakes along the way.
Okay. I like it. I'm with you.
Okay. So that's working progress. Through this, number 1 was the dream, right? Okay. So we're talking about my daughter's dance career. She moved up. She was an outlier. We talked about that. This is baked into her. This is who she is. Awesome. Number 2, cost, expensive, time. That was when I had more time to think about it. I was like, holy smokes, we're gonna have to dedicate a lot of our effort to making this happen. Mm-hmm. Rachel and Jonah being jealous, my older kids being jealous, worried that, right now it's a passion, but I don't want to turn it into a chore. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of asked myself, is this for us or for her really? And then the last thing is, who am I to think that I could blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, we can start small, as you said. She's young. Now seems to be the time because, school is so different anyway. COVID made everything different. Like, why not now? So I came up, though. This is where now I came up with another set of so's, though. So I came up with another set of arguments for my growth mindset. So I don't know how down a rabbit hole we want to get, but, yeah. Can we start small? So cost, expense, time. We can start small. She's young. Now's the time. But then I came up with another set of so's, which is, but she'll miss her friends at school. She'll feel left out.
No, hold on. Oh, wait. So is different than but. You said you
came okay. So sorry, I came up with another but. Then.
Oh, more buts. Okay. But is the fixed mindset. The so is Mark 3. Yes.
Yeah. So growth for mindset. My so, for how expensive and time intensive it is, I came up with another but. In September, she couldn't wait to go to school because she loves her friends, center of attention, wants to be involved. If we're now doing private tutoring, she's now doing one-on-one stuff. And I don't know if her dance career will give her the social side she wants. So we'll have to address that. But that's another but.
Okay. So this doesn't like go down.
Okay.
It bounces back up. You actually haven't hit Mark 3 yet. You haven't hit growth mindset Mark yet. You're still fighting. Now it's point number 4, but number 5, you're kicking it back up. It's like the jury that says we're a hung jury. No, you're not. Get back in there and give me a verdict. That's where you're at, right? You're like, Get back in there. Judge Mark is like, nope, I'm not accepting your hung jury. 12 Angry Men.
Evan, I gotta say, man, you are on your analogy game today, let me tell you.
Right? That's how you know it's right.
Okay, so then fine. So I had added, you asked for 3. I'd already added a 4th with Rachel and Jonah being jealous. So now there's a 5th, which is Jordan is a social creature and she's really going to miss out being in school with her friends. So so we'll have to figure out that too. Okay.
So I think the thing I like growth mindset. I like the wording. I think it fits for you. Extraordinary fixed mindset, growth mindset. The key with the growth mindset takeaway has to be a plan.
Yes.
Not just like growth mindset can't be aspirational.
So Mindset, the book that I love that I think I'm going to reread a few times, towards the end, it becomes clear that the growth mindset leads to action. The growth mindset has to lead to action. In all of the examples and all the analogies, it has to be like, okay, this is uncomfortable, or it's not good, or it's costing me something, or I don't like it, so.
You have to have a plan that fixed mindset Mark can get behind.
Okay.
Yeah. A plan. Like it's got to be a plan. Not just growth mindset Mark is not aspirational. It is. You become.
I wrote growth mindset is realistic, confident, assured, planned, thought out, and takes action.
Yeah, I like it. Just the definitions here matter.
Okay. Okay, so now there's a 5th.
Dude, this is great. This is great stuff right here.
Okay, so we can start small. She's young. Now's the time. It makes a lot of sense. Rachel and Jonah being jealous, honestly, they have all their own things. Like, we support each child differently. We make time for them. You know, me buying my son a dirt bike and going dirt biking and all this stuff. I mean, that was pretty extravagant for our family as well. And like, you know, they all have their own things. I'm building my daughter an art room with ventilation and stuff, so that way she could spray paint walls and everything. So like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not a big deal. If they get jealous, it's like, what are you talking about? I give you guys all this other stuff too. So that's a stupid excuse. The passion. So it's a passion right now, and I don't want her to turn her passion into a chore. As you mentioned on the last podcast, right, earlier, check in with her, you know, and if she doesn't like it, then we stop. This gave me another but.
Perfect. A but, yeah.
Which is this for us or for her? I think if we're going to make the commitment in time and in budget and all of that stuff, I think my wife, Jacqueline, who quite honestly tends to take more of the brunt on these things. I think that if she's going to commit to making this happen for Jordan, and then Jordan decides, I don't like this anymore, I want to quit, I think that Jacqueline is going to be very invested in this and may not want to see her quit. So.
Okay. So go back now, talk to yourself.
Okay. So
that's the but. Now go back.
If we started this and we started small and I walked her through this, we would just have to be aware that, hey, Jack, you know, let's make sure that we don't get our own self-esteem or self-worth tied into Jordan's success, which brings us back to your growth mindset anyway. And then if we're aware of it and we're talking about it, then we should be able to deal with it when it comes, right?
And can Mark too get behind that to say,
yeah,
okay,
that's how we got a Rottweiler and then got rid of a Rottweiler.
Okay, I mean, listen, great. As long as Mark too is like, okay, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we talked about it over the weekend. Like we really should have gotten rid of the previous dog like 8 months earlier, and we didn't because we thought, okay, we must have done a bad job. We must not be doing it right.
No, dude, this is why you make all decisions so slowly. Every decision. Yeah.
Yes. Why? You know, what are people going to think? You know,
yes.
I know. We got another dog.
Keep going. No, I know. We don't need more examples. We get it. I get it. Audience gets it. This is the solution to decision making for Mark.
Perfect. Who am I to ... And this is the answer for most things. And this isn't BS. And this is true. Honestly, I want to be the kind of guy or the kind of man or the kind of father who can give these experiences to my kids. My why is to help people feel and look extraordinary. I don't really use that language a lot. It's more like in my journal, like part of health and part of branding and part of everything is to help people make themselves feel extraordinary and look extraordinary. And I think that that fits for me, it fits for her. I think it fits for us, is like, yeah, I want to be the kind of guy who can do this, and I want to help her feel and look extraordinary as she grows into the woman that, that she's intended to be. I can get behind that.
Can Mark 2 get behind that?
Yeah.
Great. That's it, dude. So now
I did my homework.
Yeah. Well, now what do you do? Like what's
No, but this is actually really interesting, because I mean, you came up with it on the spot, or you pulled it out of the ether. But this is like, I like, you know me, I like decision-making frameworks. I like frameworks where I could logically and linearly go, okay, well, if this is true, then that has to be true. And if that's true, then that has to be true. And it helps me like connect all the dots.
But also emotionally, like your mix, you had a mix of emotional plus logical. It's why we said, okay, like the Outliers is a logical one. Well, she was born in the month, and so she's actually bigger. That's a logical one, versus who am I to do this is an emotional one. It's putting down, like you almost didn't put that one down because it felt weird to put that down, like, but you put it down. Like that's what is Mark 2, Fixed Mark is actually thinking about. And so you have the framework so that now you go back, anytime you're doubting it, you slip back into Mark 2 mode, fixed mindset mode. You can quickly look at this page. Is it, oh yeah. That's why.
I don't have to call you up, and I don't need you to remind me
there, right?
that we've talked about this a million times.
Yeah,
you can just say it's on the page.
But now you're talking to, you have a way to talk to fixed mindset Mark to get him back on board, without going to visionary Mark that everything is possible and is of course it's going to work out, because fixed mindset Mark is like, that's total BS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, this is massive.
I agree. You want to know what's even more massive?
That you're not a trained therapist?
Oh no, that is my own, that's my own,
superpower.
Yeah. On the one hand, like, I don't know any of this stuff. And on the other hand, it's so perfect. And it's something that nobody else would give you. I mean, part of it is me knowing you and having context and what would actually be a good solution for you. And whatever, still seek out therapy, but this is a way better model than anybody's going to give you. Partly because I'm great, but also partly because of the context that I have on you.
I wasn't going to give your background or context any credit. I was just going to give you all of it, but
no, there's definitely some context. I mean, that's how you make good decisions, is getting enough context. And I've known you for a while, and like you become the guinea pig for a lot of stuff that then I dish out to other people, because I gain new pattern recognition to give other people, right? So this is my training ground.
This is your lab.
This is the lab. Yeah. Welcome to the lab. We need to change the name of the podcast. The lab.
Welcome to the lab.
Welcome to the lab. Okay. The other thing is this is why I wanted to record it. One, to see your homework, but also this realization. This is your split personality. This is your air quotes bipolar, right? Like we couldn't officially name it, whether it was bipolar or borderline personality disorder or whatever, right? Like we could never quite name it. You had characteristics of this thing, but not these ones, these 6, but not those 4, or whatever. And I never named it to say, no, you've got this, but you've got something, right? And like, this is the something. This is the split Mark. You've got the extraordinary Mark, and then the fixed mindset Mark, and then the growth mindset Mark is the path up. So we've like put a bow on everything.
No, and it feels super right. And now I have a framework or a tool, at least, to sit down and journal my way through really any decision.
Anything you're delaying, you do your 3 and your 3, right? 3, but 3, so, and then you add another but, and then you made it up with 6 buts. Like, oh yeah, but great, add it on the list. And then you keep working your way through, and then you end up to growth Mark with the plan. And that might feel frustrating that you gotta like journal every little thing, but it's way faster than having to call me up or having to
journal everything anyway. It's just like I can't. Well, you've worked with me too. Or if I'm not journaling, I'm like literally trying to type out lines of thoughts just to try and get it onto a page and rearrange everything. But
And it'll go faster each time too.
Yeah, and then eventually I'll just be able to work through it mentally.
Maybe you might need to see it. Like I think a visual reminder is good so that when you come back to it in 3 months,
so I just need just a journal. I have a bunch of journals. I need to grab a journal, and it's cool. Like I have my to-do list journal, right, which is like actions and thoughts for work. I have my how am I feeling. I need to create a decision-making journal, and then I can always just go back when I'm doubting a decision and be like, oh, that's why I made that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one page.
Yeah.
On her dance class, that in 3 months, when you come back to it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Decision journal gets to be mustard color. Isn't that fun? This is
genius. Yeah, but again, it's genius for you and okay for most people. Like journaling is great.
But do you remember when I told you when I was reading Mindset to begin with, and I was like, this is it, man. Like this is the thing that's been holding me back, that I've been so rooted. And part of why I was down Monday and I was down Tuesday, and then I started to come around yesterday, was I could not get myself out of just like it wasn't even real depression. It was just like this. I think I was just stuck in this fixed mindset. I was just critical and worried. And I was just looking at the reasons why things won't work, and that I'm not good enough, and I haven't been good enough for a very long time. And, what's the point, and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you, man.
No, it's awesome. So then I went down the trail of, okay, so if you want to fix this, like this is great. This gives you the framework, the tools, and you love frameworks and working within them. So it's a perfect thing for you. If it's a superpower, then I started thinking, okay, who else has this? I started researching like visionaries with general anxiety disorder, right? And like nothing shows up. The two people that came to mind were Tom and Grant.
Tom, so Tom, I don't know if you sent it to me, but I know he did a Q&A session specifically on anxiety, and he broke down playing video games and all this stuff. I can't normally play video games. Like I do not find any aspect of it fun. I find it stressful. It's interesting. My therapist sent me this thing. Sorry to take you a little off topic, but my therapist sent me this thing. Have you ever heard of the difference between a pleasure activity and a mastery activity? Have you ever heard that language? So I've never heard it before, but he sent it to me because I happened to show him my calendar, which is just like in 15-minute increments, everything I do during a work day, from when I wake up to like when I not go to bed, but when I wake up to when I'm now transitioning from work to home life. I note down everything in 15-minute increments that I do. And it's just like a wall of stuff normally. Now, if you go to a week when I'm down or depressed, you can see just gaps everywhere. So I can use my calendar to see whether I'm feeling more go, or whether I'm like really down because there's just gaps everywhere. But he's looking at it and he's going like, when do you do stuff for fun or pleasure? And it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, what are you talking? Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, and so apparently mastery skills are skills that you do because you have to do. Doing the dishes is a mastery skill. You have to do it. You're obliged to do it. You're going to get better at it. It might help you. It has benefits. It's great. Going to work for a lot of people are. And then there's pleasure skills, things that you do that just derive pleasure, whether there's an outcome or any kind of return or not. It's just you playing video games, you deciding to do that was a pleasure skill. It might be me moving over to a mastery skill at this point because you are doing it every night and obliged to and all of that stuff. But it struck me that I don't have a lot of pleasure skills. And it also struck me that I think you have been able to build a career now and a life where like 80% of your stuff is pleasure skills, even though you're at work all day. And
yeah, I think that's it's a very basic, rudimentary way of looking at it that can really help, but really highlights a lack of self-awareness. If you have to divide into those two, I think those tools are great for people with poor self-awareness.
Well, it opened up my eyes to say I struggle to bring myself to do anything that is either just for fun or doesn't have an outcome.
Well, on one side, going dirt biking with your son is not fun.
I can have fun, but most of the time I'm thinking about him. I'm worried about him. I'm trying to train him on how to get better. I'm worried about the weather. What time is it? How long will it take to get back?
Well, but that's no. That's not the problem. The problem is you haven't moved to growth mindset Mark 3.
Okay.
When you're doing
the last 2 times I took him dirt biking, I made him cry. Like that's not the type of thing that I want to do. Like,
okay, but so use the framework even as an intention for what's happening next. I'm going to sit down with dinner. I'm going to go sit down for dinner with my family. Mm-hmm. Mark 1 is extraordinary. Man, I want to be an extraordinary father and just listen to all their stories and just be attentive and care for their every need and just be the greatest father of all time. Then fixed mindset Mark comes in. He's like, oh my God, who am I kidding? I can't live up to that. And they're going to piss me off and I'm going to lose my cool on this. And the stupid dog's going to pee on my foot and I'm going to just freak out and have to leave like last time. And then you bounce between and then you're going to get to, what does growth mindset Mark want?
I'm going to write that question down. I got to get one of those bracelets. What does growth mindset Mark want?
And then but that's basically what you're doing every time. It's a decision for how to show up.
It always comes back to, I want to be the type of person who, right?
But specifically, right? You need the plan. So now when you're going to go sit at your dinner table and your dog pees on your leg, you're going to laugh at it or whatever, like whatever is going to trigger you to freak out because somebody spat food or left food on their plate or like whatever the thing is that triggers you to go crazy, you have a plan. So same thing with your son. Whatever made you yell at him and make him cry on a dirt bike, he was being dangerous. He wasn't listening to you. Whatever. You have your intention plan going in. Mark 1 wants this beautiful life. Great time with my son. Mark 2 is like, that's never going to happen. Are you kidding me? Remember what happened the last 4 times you made him cry? You're a terrible human. And then Mark 3 comes in and negotiates the plan. And then you go out and you have a much better time because you're not sitting there worried about the weather and everything else because you've already kind of prepared for it.
I'm going to watch this back.
Yeah,
I'm writing a note that says, watch this back.
Yeah, that's why we're recording.
Yeah, it's just so significant that.
It really is.
Yeah.
So that's still a decision. How do you want to show up for your dinner and how do you want to show up for the dirt biking and how do you want to show up for Evan for the next podcast? All of this stuff really matters. Forget where else I was going with that. I had another point before we got sidetracked with your son, but I don't know. I'll come back.
This is awesome.
We're talking about your doctor friend who sent you this thing. So I think you have a ton of fun inside Brand Strategy. Ton of fun. And they would label that as mastery, whatever skill. Like,
yeah, no. I there's a bunch of things in my job that I do have a ton of fun with. And it's just playing. And it's like on my birthday last year. So in the company, we give everyone their birthdays off. I never take my birthday off. What's the point of me giving my birthday off? It was COVID, all of that stuff. I spent the entire day just rebuilding my personal website. And it was like, there was the most freedom and the most fun to be able to say,
but that's it. That's fun. That's fun for you. And that's okay.
Yes.
That's fun. That's not a mastery skill. And it is.
No, that's fun. Podcasting is fun. There's a lot of stuff that's fun. Yes, there are pleasure skills, but
that's where it breaks down. So what's a podcast? Right. Is that a mastery skill? Is that a pleasure skill? Well, it's both. Well, it can't be both. It's one. Why have the label if it's both?
Yeah.
It falls apart. So then you have to segment your life to say, okay, well, this is work and then this is fun. And it actually leads to a less happy life.
Well, no. So the only way I was going to take it was to say, okay, so like for the other day, for example, like my son for the last year and a half has been suggesting that I should read his favorite book. And I was all like, I straight up told him, I was like, listen, man, I don't read, so I'm not going to read that book. No. And then after thinking,
but you read Mindset by Carol Dweck.
I do read a lot more now because I realized that I enjoy reading.
Okay, but you haven't read your son's book.
No. So the other day, and it's funny because the reason I don't read books for the most part, other than the fact that I get bored and I bounce around a lot and stuff, is I don't want to commit the time it takes to read a book without knowing if it's going to be good or not. And so it's like it feels like this risk. Like I'm going to invest 12 hours of my time into something that I might not even like.
Mark 1, 2, 3. Here's your decision framework for reading the book.
For reading a book.
No, but you need it because otherwise you're sitting on not reading the book.
Yeah. That I have stacks and stacks of books that I intended to read that I never got around to. And I know that every time I actually pick one up and read it, I'm just like, I love it. Like we talked about Principles earlier. I loved the biography of it. I loved Mindset. I love this book I'm working through right now from, it's a super easy read. It takes what it takes, right? Like a great book.
But you need Mark 3 is writing in a way that Mark 2 understands.
Yes, I get it. And Mark 2 thinks that Mark 1 is just full of toxic.
Yeah, like, and he is. I mean, come on, Mark 1, that guy up in Dreamland, come on. Who does he think he is?
Wow.
BS artist, that guy. Unbelievable. Like nobody falls for that crap.
Right.
Yeah, that's why the plan from phase 3, Mark 3, is language that both of them accept.
Yeah.
So you should read the book, and both Marks agree.
Yeah.
This is the split duality of which Mark is going to show up.
This is where, this is for sure. This is where months ago on a podcast, you were like, Mark is either like the most confident guy in the world, or he's just like a complete mess. This is where like I listen to Tom Bilyeu talk about how many hours he works, just like how hard he works and how many hours he works. And I go like, but I know his hours are in prep time and research time and reading books time. He talks about how much he reads and how much he loves to read. And I can't I wish that I can allow myself to get to a place where reading is considered work, but I just see that as cheating because Mark 2 is busy being skeptical going, that's not really work. Sure, work.
But he's also prepping for his show, right? I mean,
I know.
If you're going to have Trevor Moawad on,
that's the goal.
Yeah. So you have to read his book.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. But you can figure that out. That's a Mark 1, 2, 3, one page. You bang that out in 8 minutes, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's actually a much healthier way because the two names that came to mind were Tom and Grant. They're like, who's doing this? Who's the visionary? But
Tom
also has
and Grant?
Yeah.
Grant has anxiety?
Yeah. So
really?
Tom has verbally said anxiety is a big thing. He's afraid to go on stage. And his two coping mechanisms are one, pretend like it's just a game and it's just a practice. And it's just it doesn't count for anything, which I really don't like. And the other one is just obsessive work to make sure that a lot of high achievers are driven by
that you're never left alone with your thoughts because you're always on to the next thing.
No, you're so afraid that it's not going to work out that you put so much extra effort in to make sure that it works out.
Oh, you just over index with effort.
It's like, I so don't want to be the failure. And this is, I think, common with a lot of you. You're a high achiever because you're so afraid of losing that you just make sure you don't lose.
Right.
And I don't think that that's super healthy. So I don't have a healthy example for you because Grant's biggest fear is that he's not going to make it. What if I don't make it?
Yeah.
That's the constant, now he approaches it. He's much more bravado than Tom. He's much more extrovert than Tom. But they both have a crazy work ethic because they need to make it. And Grant's biggest fear is I'm not going to make it. He sells out his 10X event. He sold out his 10X event, which was smaller than the last 10X event, right? So he had the stadium one, right? Big stadium one.
Stadium one, it didn't go well. He went to Vegas then next. And
it still went it did not go well for a business event at a stadium.
No, sorry. That went well. There was some sound issues and weird technical things and stuff. Yeah.
Great. So he has a stadium in Miami. Next year he goes to Vegas. It's like a third of the size.
Yep.
The voice in his head is still, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to sell out. Even though he's now grown a year in his brand.
Yep.
He's now doing it in a big, huge, Vegas, the place. It's a third of the size of the other one. Like all the logical reasons, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell out. Then he sells out. And in his head, he's saying, nobody's going to show up. They're not going to show up. They're not going to. So he keeps selling past being sold out to make sure that it gets sold out because of that's anxiety, right? He doesn't vocalize it and say, I have crazy anxiety like Tom does.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, right? He's just so anxious that this thing, what if I don't make it? When I was on the one on the 10X virtual whatever thing I was on with him, that was he had everybody kind of write down what's your biggest fear. And that was his. It's like, I'm not going to make it. But I don't think those are actually healthy models. Like I think what you have is a much healthier way to go through it. But I also can't think of anybody else who's
funny
doing it as a model.
People don't talk about, like, even when I was doing my research on anxiety and stuff, it wasn't as apparent as like people, maybe it's much more common, you know, it's like trying to find an entrepreneur with depression. It's like, well, everybody entrepreneur has depression. So, you know, it's, or whatever it is, right? Like it might just be borderline personality disorder. I was able to find leaders who've come out and spoken about it. Bipolar, you're able to find people. Narcissistic personality, maybe they might not admit it, but you know, there's different areas where people have stepped up with courage to be able to say, look at me. But in some of these, maybe it's just so common that no one is really needing to champion it, I guess. I'm not sure.
I think it's super common. I think people are so afraid of losing that drives them to win.
Right.
And then they still didn't win big enough, so they want to win bigger the next time.
Right.
Even for me, like as much as I want to go and chase down the big goal, like purpose driven, I still don't want to lose. It's the whole significance versus contribution with Tony. And every time I go, I want to be in contribution mode, but I can't give it 100% because there's still significance that's in there. So my solution was to split it, right? So it's like 60-40, 60. I'm now more driven by contribution and significance, but I can't say that it's all contribution and that I don't like the significance. In this and helping you, it's like 60% contribution is like, oh my God, we just solved this thing for Mark and now he's got a plan to help him for the rest of his life. And 40%, I'm a genius. We're recording this. We can come back to episode 85 and say what happened. You know, it's like, I'm amazing, right? Significance is both, just lean more in on the contribution, hopefully. Yeah, so I think I don't know the models that I could give you as a human to say, go copy what they're doing, because I don't think they actually have a healthy approach that would work well for you. But yeah, that model, I don't know what you want to call it, but that's it. That's that ties everything all together. It's the whole thing. We finally got through the whole thing. So there you go.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, guys. The extended episode.
If you want to see the experience I had from Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny, check out my recap right there next to us. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and we'll see you there.
On this week's episode, we talk about Date with Destiny.
I've been away for a week and some of my biggest learnings on this journey.